Today, let us have a discussion on asthma and its treatment. Our topic is about asthma. The first word to be remembered about this asthma is it is obstructive lung disorder. The first word to remember about this asthma is it is an obstructive lung disorder. Now, coming to the definition. Definition of the asthma. Asthma is defined as inflammation of the airways. Inflammation of airways which is characterized by cough, shortness of breath during night time. This is the definition of asthma, that is inflammation of the airways. Airways are nothing but bronchioles that are present in our body. So inflammation of the airways which is characterized by cough, dry cough, shortness of breath during night time is called asthma. Now, before going into detail of asthma, let us have some comparison between the asthma and chronic obstructive pulmonary disorders. What are chronic obstructive pulmonary disorders? Means this is asthma. It is completely dissimilar to the chronic obstructive pulmonary disorders. It is completely unsimilar to the chronic obstructive pulmonary disorders. So, what are comes under chronic obstructive pulmonary disorders means first one is emphysema and second one is chronic bronchitis. So, these are the two COPDs, chronic obstructive pulmonary disorders. Now, these asthma, which is not a COPD, is dissimilar to the chronic obstructive pulmonary disorders. How can we justify this statement? Means these asthma can be treated or it is reversible by administering the drugs. Because of reversible action, whatever the airways which are blocked will become normal, but these chronic obstructive pulmonary disorders, these are irreversible. So the mechanism of action is different. So here the mechanism of action is different. Here the action is different. Here the action is different. Now there are three important characteristic features of asthma. What are the three important characteristic features of the asthma means? First, the three important characteristic features of asthma. First characteristic feature of asthma is airway obstructions. Airway obstructions is the first characteristic feature of asthma, and second one is hyperreaction, that is hypersensitivity reactions. Smooth muscle hyperreactivity. So this is the second important characteristic feature of asthma. First one is airway obstructions, while the second one is smooth muscle hyperreactivity, while the third one is inflammatory process. So these are the three important characteristic features of asthma, that is first one is airway obstructions, second one is smooth muscle hyperreactivity, and third one is inflammations. Now these are the basics of asthma, that is these are the obstructive lung disorders, and definition is inflammations of airways which is characterized by cough, shortness of breath during the night time is called asthma, and it can be differentiated by chronic obstructive pulmonary disorders. So these are the three important characteristic features of asthma, that is airway obstructions, smooth muscle hyperreactivity, and inflammations. So now let us discuss about the types of asthmas. Types of asthmas. As we know that asthma can be classified into two types. First one is atopic asthma. First type of asthma is called atopic asthma. Now, this atopic asthma is also called extrinsic asthma. This is extrinsic asthma. So, in this type of asthmas, there is involvement of external antigen like pollen grains or any extrinsic antigens from dogs, cats, etc. So here there will be hyperreactivity taking place because of small reactions. So extrinsic means there is involvement of external side antigens. So here this is called asthma. This is atopic asthma. Now coming to the second type of asthma is non-atopic asthma. First one is atopic asthma, second one is non-atopic asthma. Now this non-atopic asthma is also called as intrinsic asthma. Whereas this atopic asthma is called as extrinsic asthma and non-atopic asthma is called intrinsic asthma. What is intrinsic means? There is no involvement of external side antigens. So here these asthma will be resulted because of certain reactions, because of certain results, like the first one is there is a drug called aspirin. Because of the using of aspirin for long duration, it results in non-atopic asthma. Now we will discuss the mechanism of aspirin, that is aspirin related asthma, later. First cause for this non-atopic asthma is excessive usage of this aspirin. This is the first cause, and second cause is exercise. Second cause for the atopic asthma is exercise. And next cause for this atopic asthma is stressful conditions. This is third cause of non-atopic asthma. Now let us consider another cause, that is occupational toxins. Occupational toxins. This is the fourth cause for the non-atopic asthma. The last cause for this non-atopic asthma is cold. So these are the types of asthmas, that is atopic asthma and non-atopic asthma. Atopic asthma is extrinsic because this atopic asthma is occurred because of influence of external antigen which is entered into our body, will trigger the matched cells. As a result, it releases IgE type of immunoglobulins, and as a result, it results in inflammation and another process which results in asthma. So here this is called atopic asthma, which is extrinsic form. Next one is non-atopic asthma, which is intrinsic form. There is no involvement of external antigen like in atopic asthma. But here these are the causes. Aspirin related is the first cause, that is if excessive usage of aspirin, it inhibits the cyclooxygenase pathway. Now next cause is exercise, and next one is stressful conditions, and next one is occupational toxins, and next one is cold. So these are some important types of asthmas, and these are the causes for intrinsic and extrinsic asthmas. So now let us discuss what is the pathology which is involved in the asthma. Let us discuss the pathology of asthma. So, if while discussing the pathology of asthma, now let us erase this. We are discussing the pathology of asthma. Now, if in order to discuss the pathology of asthma, we need to have discussion on respiratory epithelium, or else whatever the epithelium which is present inside the respiratory bronchioles. So let us have a structure of respiratory bronchioles. Let us consider this is the outermost layer. Here this is the lumen, so that it will be in circular manner. Now, as we know that the bronchioles are circular in manner, it will be like this. Here it will be the outermost area. Inside there will be lumen-like structure. So here, this is the structure. So we are removing part of this. Here we are removing a part of this and showing here. Now this is the innermost layer, that is, so this is a towards the lumen, that is outermost layer. Now these outermost layer cells are called, here let us, these type of cells are called epithelial cells. These special type of cells are called epithelial cells. Now whatever the membrane which is present, so these epithelial cells are pseudo-stratified epithelial cells. These are pseudo-stratified epithelial cells. Now the cells which are present, the membrane which is present between the below the cells is called, this membrane is called this membrane which is present below the epithelial cells, or else the surface on which the epithelial cells are present is called basement membrane. So these are epithelial cells, and here this is a basement membrane. This is epithelial cells and this is the basement membrane. Now below the basement membrane there is another structure called lamina propria. Lamina propria. So here there are depositions of collagens are present. Collagens, these are the collagens. These are the collagen material. Here the collagen fibers are present. Here the collagen fibers are present, which is associated with elastic fibers. Now these epithelial cells along with basement membrane along with lamina propria is called mucosa. This entire is called mucosa. Entire structure is called mucosa. Now next to this is next layer which is present towards the inner side of this lamina propria is called smooth muscles. So let us consider these are the smooth muscles, two smooth muscles. So here this is one smooth muscle and here this is another smooth muscle. Let us consider these are the two smooth muscles. Now this is the structure of respiratory bronchioles. This is the innermost layer, that is muscle layer, and below this submucosal layer is present, and below that adventitial layer is present where it consists of arteries and veins. Now in these lamina propria it consists of B lymphocytes and T lymphocytes. These are the B lymphocytes. These are the T lymphocytes. So let us consider, this is the pathology. We are discussing the pathology of asthma. So let us consider, these are some mast cells, and here there are also present of mast cells. These are mast cells, and some are also present at the outer side. Now, whenever these external antigens enters into our cells, so this special type of cell is called dendritic cell. This special type of cell is called dendritic cell. So now let us consider, one star type of antigen. Star type of external antigen or any pollen is entering into these cells. It is trapped by dendritic cell. This dendritic cell will get flipped up. It gets flipped up into this lamina propria. So whenever these dendritic cells take up these antigens, what the process will happen means, if you go into in detail, a good student should remember the what the process is taking place at the molecular level. That is a important quality of a good student or intelligent student, to remember the events that takes place at molecular level within the cell. So what happens in this cell means, let us consider one dendritic cell here. Let us consider this is one dendritic cell, and this is the nucleus of dendritic cell. So this antigen is entered into this dendritic cell. Let us consider this is the star type of antigen or any pollen grain which is entered into this dendritic cell. Now what is the next step after the entry of this means, there is a chromosome number 6. Chromosome number 6 will get activated. So whenever the chromosome number 6 is activated, it results in formation of red colored molecules. So there is a formation of red colored molecules like this, which have two portions. One is constant region, this is a constant region, while this is variable region. Now these red colored molecules which are formed, will get attached to the surface of dendritic cell. That means like this. It will get attached to the surface of dendritic cell. So it is already having star type of antigen. Antigen along with this red color molecule is called, this red color molecule which is formed by activation of chromosome number 6 is called MHC class 2 molecule. That is pathology we have studied in second year in pathophysiology, that is MHC class 2 molecules will be formed. Now these MHC class 2 molecules along with pollen grain antigen is exposed on surface of this dendritic cell. So this dendritic cell along with the MHC class 2 molecules plus pollen antigen is called antigen presenting cell. So this cell is called antigen presenting cell. Now what will be the next step? Whenever this antigen presenting cell is entered into this, these antigens along with antigen presenting cell is entered into inside. It is entered towards the inner side. What will be the next step? It will attack the T cells. How it gets attacked by T cells means, how these T cells will attack the antigen presenting cells means, this is the next step. What will be the next step means, let us consider this is one T cell. Let us consider this is one T cell. On surface of T cells, there are certain receptors are present. Two special type of receptors are present. These are the two special receptors, and inside it consists of nucleus. This is a nucleus. Now, these two special receptors, out of this, it is called T cell receptor. This is called T cell receptor. Out of which, next one is called CD4 marker. It is CD4 marker. One is CD4 marker, other one is T cell receptor. Now, these whole antigen presenting cell along with these MHC class 2 molecules plus pollen antigen will get attached to the T cell receptors like this. Along with antigen, here for T cell receptor, this antigen will get attached. Whereas for CD4 marker, this MHC class 2 molecule is attached along with this cell. Now, this T cell receptor is attacking the pollen antigen. This star type of antigen is pollen antigen, whereas this antibody-like structure is MHC class 2 molecule. Now, what happens after this step means, these MHC class 2 molecules or as these dendritic cell will release a special chemical. It releases a special chemical. What is that special chemical means? Interleukin 1. Interleukin 1. So this is the interleukin 1 which is released by dendritic cell or else any antigen presenting cell. Now, these interleukin 1 which is released to the T cells, it undergoes signaling process. It will activate the intracellular signaling process. Intracellular signaling process will get activated. So, let us consider this is the genetic material. This is genetic material. Now, this genetic material, one gene of the genetic material will get activated with this response. So, it forms a special protein. This special protein, name of this special protein is interleukin 2. The name of this special protein is interleukin 2. Now, at the same time, these set of genes will activate another set of genes. This another set of genes will form another protein which is embedded only inside the membrane. Now, after this formation of this special protein, this interleukin 2 will get attached here. Interleukin 2 will get attached this transmembranous protein. As a result, interleukin will get attached here. After attachment of interleukin 2, what is the next step means this intracellular signaling will activate another gene. So whenever this next set of gene is activated, it activates mitosis pathways. So mitosis pathways will get activated. As a result, many number of cells will be formed. Like this, many number of cells are formed. So these, whatever the T cells which are formed is of these antigen presenting, result of these antigen presenting cells. So let us consider 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 T cells are formed. Now from these 8 T cells, let us keep this aside, as we know that next step means here this is B cell. On surface of B cell, this is a nucleus. On surface of B cell, there are B cell receptors. On surface of B cell, there are B cell receptors. Now, these, whatever the cells which are formed because of mitosis, will release special chemical. The special chemical which is released will get attached on surface of B cell receptor. It will get on surface of B cell receptor. So what are the special chemicals means interleukin 4 and interleukin 5. Interleukin 4 as well as interleukin 5. So these interleukin 4 and interleukin 5 will activate B cell receptors, and these B cell receptors will undergo further division. So B cells undergoes further division, will result in formation of memory cells and plasma cells. As a result, it forms special type of antibodies. It forms antibodies. So these special type of antibodies which are formed, these are the special antibodies which are formed by the B lymphocytes are IgE type, that is epsilon type. IgE type of immunoglobulins are formed because of this entry of pollen grains. So this is the molecular level which is happening inside the cells. This is to be remembered by a bright student, not by average student. And these immunoglobulins which are formed, IgE type of immunoglobulins which are formed, will get attracted by these mast cells. So how these mast cells will get attracted means on surface of mast cells there is special receptors are present. Let us consider this is a special receptor which is present on surface of mast cells. Here also. Now, on surface of mast cell there are special receptors are present. Now, these special receptors are called Fc receptors, Fc type of receptors. Now, whatever the immunoglobulins which are formed will attack this Fc receptor, will get attached to this Fc type of receptors. So here special immunoglobulins, IgE type of immunoglobulins are attached. These immunoglobulins, IgE type of immunoglobulins, these are IgE type of immunoglobulins. Now, whatever the IgE type of immunoglobulins which are formed because of activation of B cells is the product of these pollen genes. So let us stop the story here. That is, there is formation of IgE type of immunoglobulins. Now there is formation of IgE type of immunoglobulins. Now this person having the antibodies against these pollen antigens. Now there is a special nerve which has to be studied, that is 10th nerve, vagus nerve. This is a special nerve, vagus nerve. And here also this is a special nerve, vagus nerve. These are the vagus nerves coming to these epithelial cells, these respiratory bronchioles. Now these, let us consider the normal physiology. This, whatever the vagus nerve which is entering into this area will release acetylcholine. Now these acetylcholine, let us consider this one type of smooth muscle and another type of smooth muscles are same, but the type of receptors which are present are different. Now let us consider here on surface of the smooth muscles there is a presence of beta 2 receptors. This is beta 2 type of receptors. Beta 2 type of receptors are present. Now these beta 2 type of receptors, this vagus nerve is releasing the acetylcholine or any neurotransmitter. Especially the acetylcholine will get released here. Here there may be any neurotransmitter which is present. Now it will attach to this beta 2 type of receptors. So whenever beta 2 type of receptors is get activated, now what will be the internal process means, it will activate G stimulatory protein. It activates the G stimulatory protein. Now here this is the smooth muscle. Let us modify the diagram. So this is one smooth muscle. Because of attachment of acetylcholine or norepinephrine, any neurotransmitter, there will be activation of G stimulatory proteins. G stimulatory protein will get activated. As a result of activation of G stimulatory protein, it will activate another protein, adenylyl cyclase. Adenylyl cyclase is the protein will get activated because of activation of G stimulatory protein. Now what will be the next step means, because of activation of adenylyl cyclase, the function of the adenylyl cyclase is it helps in conversion of ATP into cyclic AMP. ATP will get converted into cyclic AMP. Now, whatever the cyclic AMP which is formed having many functions, but one of the important function is, let us consider, this is one calcium channel. This is one calcium channel. Now, this function of this cyclic AMP is it blocks the these calcium channels. It will block these calcium channels. Whenever these calcium channels are blocked, there will be no influx of calcium. There will be no influx of calcium. So if there is no influx, normally if there is calcium influx is there, if calcium is entered into the cell, there will be repolarization takes place. Ultimately there will be more contraction of the smooth muscles. So here the calcium influx is decreased because of activation of cyclic AMP. So here the cyclic AMP is activated. Here the cyclic AMP will get activated. So because of activation of cyclic AMP, these calcium channels will get closed. So because of calcium channels are inhibited, calcium cannot enter into the cell. If there is no calcium entering into the cell, there will be no repolarization. So as a result, there is no repolarization, there will be no contraction. As a result, it helps in dilation of the, if there is calcium influx is decreased, there will be dilation of these vessels. So smooth it results in vasodilation. So if there is beta 2 receptors are activated, then it results in bronchodilation. Now this is about one type of receptors. Coming to the another type of receptors, that is nerve is the same, that is 10th vagus nerve. Now this vagus nerve is releasing the acetylcholine. So let us consider here this is beta 2 type of receptor, here another type, that is muscarinic receptor. Here this is a muscarinic type of receptor on which acetylcholine will get binded. This is acetylcholine will get binded. Now whenever this acetylcholine is binded, the internal signal will get activated. So whenever this acetylcholine is binded to this muscarinic type of receptor, either it may be M type, M1 type, M3 type, M5 type. These are M1, M3, M5. These are the excitatory neurotransmitter, excitatory muscarinic receptors. So intercellular signaling will get activated. Now, whenever the intercellular signaling is activated, it will activate special protein, that is GQ type of protein. Here G stimulated protein is activated. Here GQ protein will get activated. GQ protein will get activated. Now, whenever GQ protein is activated, it will activate the special protein. It will activate another kind of protein, that is phospholipase C. This is a special protein, that is phospholipase C. That means it helps in cutting the special proteins which are present on membranes. That is, it cuts the phosphatidyl inositol triphosphate. Phosphatidyl inositol triphosphate into two components. One is inositol 3-phosphate and diacylglycerol. Inositol 3-phosphate and diacylglycerol. Now, the main function of inositol triphosphate is it increases the calcium levels within the cell. So, whenever the calcium levels are increased, this calcium will be entered into the sarcoplasmic reticulum. This is sarcoplasmic reticulum. Now, from the sarcoplasmic reticulum, it activates calcium calmodulin complex. These calcium calmodulin complexes, what is the function of this calcium calmodulin complexes means, let us consider this is a calcium channel. This calcium colmoglobuline complex will activate these calcium channels. So as a result, calcium will get entered inside. So these, whenever this calcium is entered into the cell, there will be repolarization taking place. Continuation of this repolarization, it results in hyperpolarization. As a result of hyperpolarization, it will be remain contraction. So whenever these muscarinic receptors are activated, acetylcholine receptors are activated, it results in contraction. So whenever these beta 2 receptors are activated, it results in dilation, but here it results in contraction. Now this is about the nerves and the mechanism of smooth muscles. Now we have completed how the IgE are formed. In the same person, IgE antibodies are present. Now these same person exposed to the virus, exposed to the same antigen after some time, after a few days, let us say after 1 day or 2 days. Now these same type of antigen, that is pollen antigen or else any type, another type of antigen, same type of antigen, now it will get attached to this dendritic cell. The same process taking place will result in T cells receptors. Here it will get attached to T cells. As a result, now another type of immunoglobulins will be formed, that is IgE type of immunoglobulins will be formed. So these, at the second time, these mast cells which are present will release special kind of chemical mediators. It releases a special kind of chemical mediators. So it releases prostaglandins, and it releases leukotrienes. It releases the leukotrienes and also releases the cytokines. It releases in leukotrienes, prostaglandins, leukotrienes and cytokines. These are called chemical mediators. Now these chemical mediators which are formed, which are released. So now let us consider here the collagen fiber. We should remember that collagen fibers are present. So here B cells are present and T lymphocytes cells also present. Now these are the mast cells. As a result, these are the B cells and these are the T cells. Now these, whatever the mast cells which are present along with IgE type of immunoglobulins, when the second entry of antigens takes place, these mast cells will release prostaglandins, cytokines and leukotrienes. Now these three are the chemical mediators and also histamines. So these are the chemical mediators which are released by mast cells. So here these are the mast cells. These are the mast cells. Now whatever the prostaglandins, cytokines, leukotrienes are released, now there are three important functions of these chemical mediators. Now what will be the important function of the chemical mediators? The first important function, that means the first important function of this is it helps in contraction of these epithelial cells. Let us consider these epithelial cells undergoes contraction process. So it undergoes contraction process. Like this, it undergoes contraction process. There will be dip formed here. So because of action of prostaglandins, cytokines and leukotrienes, there will be contraction of the epithelial cells. Now, as a result, there will be more chance of entering of antigens inside the cells. Like this, more antigen, there is more capacity to enter the antigens here inside of the cell. As a result, this is the first function, that is, it increases the vascular permeability. First, that means it increases the vascular permeability. Now, next one is, the first function is it increases the vascular permeability. This is the first function. Coming to the second function, it increases the vagus nerve. It increases the vagus nerve input. That means the acetylcholine will get released excessively. It do not activate these beta receptors. It activates only the acetylcholine receptors. Now, as a result, there is excessive input signal of vagus nerve. There is more acetylcholine will be released. As a result, more GQ will get activated, more phospholipase C will get activated, more calcium cholinergic complex will get activated, more calcium will get entered, and it results in more contraction. As a result, the diameter of whole system, that is bronchioles, will get narrowed. That means, let us consider, this is the normal diameter of airways, but because of this excessive action of this acetylcholine, it gets converted into like this. It becomes narrow. So because of narrow condition, this condition is called bronchospasm. This condition is called bronchospasm. Now, it relates in bronchospasm. So whatever the leukotrienes which are released, prostaglandins, cytokines, leukotrienes, the first function is it increases the vascular permeability. Second one is it increases the input of vagus nerve. And next one is, that means increase of vagus nerve means bronchoconstriction. And next one is, it will also show its effect on beta receptors. So, if beta receptors are activated in excessive manner, now there is inflammations taking place because of activation of beta 2 types of receptors. That means there will be vasodilation. If there is excessive vasodilation, loss of fluid will be more. Because of loss of fluid will be more, it results in inflammation condition. So this is the third condition. It results in inflammation. So in first we have discussed the three primary characteristic features of asthma is bronchial constriction. This is bronchial constriction and increase of permeability, and third one is vasodilation. So these are the important characteristic features of asthma. Now, because of constriction and inflammation and excessive intake of these antigens, it results in inflammation process. As a result, person cannot take appropriate breath as a normal person. So it results in a condition called asthma. So whatever we have seen, that means mast cells will activate chemotrigger zone. Now this chemotrigger zone will send the positive signal to the neutrophils as well as eosinophils. So neutrophils and eosinophils will activate special type of leukotrienes, that is leukotriene C4, leukotriene D4, leukotriene E4 type of leukotrienes. So as a result, it results in bronchoconstriction, inflammation, and increase the vascular permeability is called. Now there is one more reason. Because of excessive permeability, whatever the smooth muscles which are present will increase its number, that is it undergoes hyperplasia. So because of hyperplasic condition, because of this hyperplasic condition, it undergoes hyperplasic condition. As a result, hyperreactivity will be taking place. Hyperreactivity of smooth muscles will be taking place. These all conditions unite together to form asthma. So whatever we have discussed is immediate reactions. So there is another type of reaction, that is these are immediate responses, whereas delayed responses are also present. That means there is no requirement of external antigen, that is delayed asthma, delayed type of reactions. Now, or it is also called late type of reactions. So in late type of reactions, the main role will be played by the eosinophils. These eosinophils will release major basic proteins. These major basic proteins, and also as well as it releases the cationic proteins. So whatever the major basic proteins which are released will help in damaging the epithelial tissue. Whatever the epithelial cells which are present will damage. So because of damage of these epithelial cells, there will be inflammation process taking place. As a result, bronchoconstriction will be taking place. As a result, inflammation process will be taking place. These all will result in a condition called asthma. Now we need to discuss another type of asthma, that is aspirin related asthma. So here we have discussed about prostaglandins, cytokines and leukotrienes. Now these prostaglandins, let us consider this is prostaglandins D2 type, prostaglandin D2 type, and this is prostaglandins and it is leukotrienes. So whatever the prostaglandins which are formed will undergo cyclooxygenase pathway. It undergoes the cyclooxygenase pathway. Cyclooxygenase pathway. Whereas these leukotrienes which are formed will undergo lipooxygenase pathway. Lipooxygenase pathway. It undergoes cyclooxygenase pathway, it undergoes lipooxygenase pathway. So as a result, whenever the aspirin is taken, the main function of this aspirin is it inhibits the cyclooxygenase pathway. So whenever this cyclooxygenase pathway is get inhibited, it will overstimulate the lipooxygenase pathway. So whenever lipooxygenase pathway is overstimulated, it results in over releasing of acetylcholine. So because of over releasing of acetylcholine, it results in increase of phospholipase C. So because of activation of phospholipase C, there is activation of phosphatidyl inositol triphosphate. As a result, it forms inositol triphosphate and diacylglycerol. This inositol triphosphate will form the calcium colmodulin complex. As a result, there is more influx of calcium. As a result, bronchial constriction will be taking place. So in this way, that is called as aspirin mediated asthma. That is aspirin related asthma. So that is aspirin related asthma. Now there is another type of asthma, that is airway remodeling process. What is airway remodeling process means, whatever the epithelial cells which are present here will be removed from this basement membrane. As a result, because of these prostaglandins or because of these chemical mediators, there will be more formation of mucus. Let us consider here there is mucus will be formed. There will be more formation of mucus. by mast cells. These mast cells will release mucus. Now these mast cells which releases the mucus will transfer the mucus into the lumen. So this is the luminal area. Now in airway remodeling process, whatever the membrane epithelial cells are present will be shut off from that area and will attach with this mucus. So it attached with that mucus. Let us consider this is one long mucus. Inside it consists of epithelial cells. Inside consists of epithelial cells. Now these epithelial cells which are innervated in the mucus is called Kirschmann spirals. Kirschmann spirals. So because of this presence of Kirschmann spirals, it enters into the cell. So whenever it enters into the cell, it helps in increasing the hyperplasia. So because of increase in hyperplasia, it results in vasodilation, and it increases. If there is excessive vasodilation, there is loss of fluid. Because of loss of fluid, it results in inflammation process. Now next one is it results in calcium colmogulin complexes forms the results in contraction. Now as a result, inflammation takes place, calcium this vasoconstriction will be taking place, and bronchospasm will be taking place. As a result, it results in asthma. So this is called airway remodeling complexes, and we have discussed about aspirin mediated asthma. Now we have completed about the pathogenesis. This is a complete description of pathogenesis, that is pathology which is involved in the asthma. Now let us discuss the pharmacology which is related, that is treatment for the asthma. Let us remove this diagram. Sorry, let us now in order to overcome this asthma, we have several type of drugs. Now let us discuss that special type of drugs in detail. Now there are three types of drugs are totally in detail. There are two types of drugs are given. That is, first one is bronchodilators are given, and next one is anti-inflammatory drugs. So because of bronchoconstriction is taking place in this area, that means in order to constrict, it undergoes relaxation process. It should undergo relaxation process. As a result, bronchodilators are given. Next one is here it undergoes inflammation process. So in order to overcome the inflammation process, these are giving the anti-inflammatory drugs. So first let us discuss about the first type. Bronchodilators. In bronchodilators, the first category which we need to discuss is, first one is, it should work at this beta receptors, that is beta 2 agonist. It should increase the beta 2 type receptors. So beta 2 receptors should get increased. As a result, if beta 2 receptors are activated, these beta 2 receptors are activated, it results in more formation of cyclic AMP. There is more cyclic formation of AMP, that is, there is no contraction. As a result, if there is here beta 2 agonists are given. So, if these beta 2 agonists are given, let us consider the mechanism of action of beta 2 agonists. Here the beta 2 agonist action will be given. Now these beta 2 agonists which are working in this area will activate this beta 2 type of receptors. Beta 2 receptors will get activated. So because of activation of beta 2 type of receptors, G stimulatory protein will get activated. So G stimulatory protein will activate the adenylyl cyclase. This adenylyl cyclase will activate the ATP into cyclic AMP. If there is excessive production of cyclic AMP, as a result, it will block the calcium channels. If there is blockage of calcium channels, this calcium cannot enter inside the cell. As this cannot enter inside the cell, as a result, there is no contraction. It results in vasodilation. So the first category includes beta 2 type of receptors. So what comes under the beta 2 type of receptors are, first one is, the first type of drug is salbutamol. This is the first drug, that is salbutamol. Next one is terbutaline. Next drug is formoterol. Next one is bambuterol. So these are the 4 drugs which has to be remembered by every student, that is beta 2 agonist, that is salbutamol, terbutaline, formoterol, bambuterol. So it will activate the beta 2 type of receptor which is present on smooth muscles. As a result, there is no influx of calcium ions. If there is no influx of calcium ions, as a result, there will be no contraction of muscles. It results in vasodilation effect. Now, these are classified in 2 forms. One is short acting and other one is long acting. This is the first bronchodilators which can be given, that is beta 2 agonist. While coming to the second type is, first one is completed. Second type is, this second type of drugs which are giving is acting in this area. That means these are cholinergic receptors. So whatever the drugs which are administering, that is second type of drugs which comes under bronchodilators, whatever the second type of drugs which are administering will block these cholinergic receptor. Whatever it may be, muscarinic receptor or nicotinic receptor, it will block this cholinergic receptor. So if this cholinergic receptor is blocked, this GQ protein will get inhibited. If this GQ protein is inhibited, it will inhibit the phospholipase C. If this phospholipase C is not activated, it do not activate the phosphatidyl inositol triphosphate. As a result, it do not activate the inositol 3-phosphate. So it do not activate diazolglycerol. It do not activate calcium colmogulin complex. So if this calcium colmogulin complex is not found, these whatever the calcium channels which are present will not be opened. If there is no opening of calcium ions, there will be no entry of calcium ions. If there is no entry of calcium ions, it do not undergoes hyperpolarization or repolarization. If there is no repolarization or hyperpolarization, there will be no contraction of smooth muscles. So if there is no contraction of smooth muscles, there will be no bronchoconstriction. So if there is no bronchoconstriction, ultimately it results in bronchodilation. So this is the effect of second type of bronchodilators, that are anticholinergics. So these drugs are called anticholinergics. Anticholinergic drugs. These are second type of drugs that are called anticholinergic drugs. So what are the drugs that comes under this anticholinergic called ipratropium tribromide. Ipratropium tribromide. Next one is tiotropium tribromide. Ipratropium tribromide and tiotropium tribromide. These are the two drugs which comes under anticholinergic drugs which inhibit these cholinergic receptors. As a result, there is no influx of calcium ions. So these are first one is beta 2 agonist and second one is anticholinergic drugs. Now next type of bronchodilators which are given are, third type is methylxanthines. Third type of drugs which includes the bronchodilators are methylxanthines. So what are the drugs which comes under methylxanthines are caffeine, first one is caffeine, next one is theophylline, next one is thiobromide, next one is aminophylline, so these are the four important drugs which comes under methylxanthines which involves in bronchodilation. So out of these, caffeine is vasoconstrictor in cranial nerves. One important point to remember about this caffeine is it acts as a vasoconstrictor in cranial nerves, and remaining except the cranial nerves, it works as vasodilator, whereas in cranial nerves it acts as vasoconstrictor, in another nerves it acts as vasodilator. So this is about caffeine. Next one, some important points about theophylline. This theophylline is potent vasodilator. This theophylline is called potent vasodilator. Now this theophylline is more potent in children than in the adult ages. So this theophylline can give in higher doses for the patients like younger, small children, and the patient who are taking enzyme inducers, whereas enzyme inducers like phenytoin, etc. Now this theophylline drug should give in low doses for the elder people, and the people who are patient who is taking enzyme inhibitors. So that is about theophylline. And next one is these. If we discuss the mechanism of action of methylxanthines, this mechanism of action is shown by two methods. One is by inhibiting the adenosine receptors. That is, mechanism of action is shown by two methods. Adenosine receptors blockage. It will block the adenosine receptors which are present on muscles. So if normally if the adenosine receptors are activated, it results in vasoconstriction. So here the methylxanthines will block this adenosine receptor. As a result, it results in decrease in the constriction and increases the dilation. This is the first effect, first mode of action. Next one is it inhibits the phosphodiesterase enzyme. Phosphodiesterase. It inhibits the phosphodiesterase enzyme. Now, there are three important drugs to be remembered by a bright student in the lecture of asthma is there are three important drugs which blocks the phosphodiesterase type 4 which are newly discovered. The first one is roflumilast. And second one is silomilast. Next one is tofimilast. These are three important drugs which inhibits the phosphodiesterase type 4, which results in when the function of phosphodiesterase is it helps in converting the cyclic AMP into the AMP. So if the AMP is formed, it cannot show its action. So the phosphodiesterase enzyme will get inhibited. So this is about bronchodilators. This is the first category of the drugs, that is bronchodilators. And the second type of drugs are we have discussed about bronchodilators. Second type of drugs are anti-inflammatory drugs. Anti-inflammatory drugs. So the first category under the anti-inflammatory drugs is what is the type of antibody which is involved in this asthma is IgE type of antibody. So the first type of anti-inflammatory drug which is administered or will work on this IgE type of immunoglobulin and will inhibit the IgE type, that will neutralize, which will neutralize the IgE neutralizer, which works at the IgE. If there is no IgE, there will be no activation of mast cells. If there is no activation of mast cells, there will be no production of this prostaglandins, cytokinins, glucotrienes, etc. There will be no inflammation process. There will be no production of mucus. So the first type of the drugs which will work at this IgE type of immunoglobulin, that is omalizumab. 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 Omalizumab is the first drug which will work at this IgE type of immunoglobulins and will inhibit the function of IgE immunoglobulins and suppress the function of mast cells. So this is the first category, that is it involves the neutralization of IgE type of immunoglobulins. So next one is we have completed the IgE immunoglobulin receptor blockers, IgE blockers. Now what are the type of cells which are involved in asthma means main role is played by mast cells. So there are certain drugs administered to the patient which will work on mast cells and will inhibit the function of mast cells, So that special category of the drugs which works on mast cells are called mast cell stabilizers. Mast cell stabilizers. So what is the drug which comes under the mast cell stabilizers is sodium chromoglycate. This is the drug which comes under mast cell stabilizer. Now we have completed two categories of anti-inflammatory drugs. First one is which neutralizes the IgE type of immunoglobulins, which example is omalizumab, and next category of drugs which will neutralize the function of these mast cells, that is mast cell stabilizers, include sodium chromate glycate. And next type is Next type of drugs where the production of these prostaglandins will get decreased. Only it will release the mast cells will release the prostaglandins, but the quantity of these prostaglandins or chemical mediators will get decreased. The quantity will get decreased, but the secretion will be as usual. But the secretion will get decreased. That is, production of chemical mediators decreases. There is production of chemical mediators decreases. That is, the quantity of the concentration of chemical mediators will get decreased. What is the drug which comes under this decrease of chemical mediators is Zileuton. Zileuton. Xyluton, Zileuton, Xyluton, and as well as corticosteroids. So this is the third group of drugs, and next group of drugs. It will inhibit the synthesis of these prostaglandins, cytokines, leukotrienes. That is, it inhibits the release of prostaglandins, cytokines, and leukotrienes. That is, it includes zafirlukast, 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 and next one is montelukast, montelukast. So it will inhibit the synthesis of prostaglandins. So if there is inhibit of synthesis of prostaglandins, there is no cyclooxygenase pathway, there is no lipoxygenase pathway. So if there is no cyclooxygenase or lipoxygenase pathway, there will be no bronchoconstriction, there will be no inflammation, there is no inflammation process. As a result, there will be no formation of mucus. Now, by this way, this pharmacology helps in decreasing the effect of asthma. So now we have completed about the definition of asthma and pathophysiology of asthma and types of asthma and the treatment for asthma.